Following the November 24 episode, Taylor Sheridan's TV show can finally get down to business. Hopefully, the confusing flashbacks, which are correctly presented and utilized in episode 11, as opposed to episode 10, are a thing of the past. Now, Yellowstone Season 5 can focus on developing and advancing its present story surrounding the treacherous war between Beth Dutton and Jamie Dutton. And wow, last week's Yellowstone Season 5, Episode 11, 353, ended with a bang as the aftermath of John Dutton's death continues to reverberate. Kinda rude that the powers that be are making us wait a whole week to see what happens next, right? As the Taylor Sheridan-created series nears its unavoidable conclusion, Yellowstone is taking some grim turns with just a few episodes remaining. The Paramount drama may not agree with you if you felt that Casey, Beth, and Rip had endured enough in the wake of John Dutton's murder. The Dutton Ranch will never be the same after Counting Coup, and Season 5 brings everything to a new and tragic level. The opening scene of Counting Coup shows the Dutton cowboys in Texas and Montana getting their start in the day. Teeter and Colby Mayfield are on the phone when the latter confesses his love for Teeter. As they join her different costumes, she reciprocates the sentiment despite their separation. Rip shows in and announces that he plans to sell some bulls and put some horses up for auction while Lloyd and Carter talk about the future of the ranch. Rip thinks he's attempting to rescue it, but Lloyd struggles with the news, wondering if they're going out of business. He clarifies Uncle Sam wants his pound of flesh, and we don't want to give it to him in land. Tragus Wheatley, who has been training Jimmy Herdstrom to become a horse trainer, is the first person Rip calls. Travis is asked to assist Rip in selling a sizable portion of the Dutton Ranch's horses for top dollar, something he prefers to accomplish properly rather than at a last-minute fire sale. Knowing that Jimmy had a unique bond with the landowner, Jimmy was one of the only branded cowboys John ever permitted to leave the Yellowstone, Rip asks Travis to inform Jimmy of John Dutton's death, which makes matters a little more difficult. Jimmy, who is devastated by the news, is instructed to take a week off to spend time with his bride, Emily, but he immediately resumes his horseback riding. Following the murder of Sarah Atwood in the previous episode, Detective Dillard interviews Jamie back in Bozeman. Inquiring about Sarah's death, Dillard, who was last seen in Helena, leaving us to wonder where his jurisdiction truly resides, tells Jamie that it appears that Sarah was targeted. However, the Attorney General becomes extremely defensive when the detective asks Jamie if he can look through some of Sarah's belongings. Jamie screams, "Retreating me like I'm a suspect." "No, I wasn't," answers Dillard, "but I will now." The adopted Dutton hurries upstairs to destroy legal paperwork from Sarah's luggage as Dillard departs to obtain a warrant for a search of Jamie's house, potentially revealing his conflict of interest with Market Equity's airport project. When Beth arrives to the Dutton Ranch, Monica prepares breakfast for everyone and swears she will never again enter that dining room. They dine in the kitchen instead. However, a call from Dillard interrupts Casey as Monica asks Tate to fetch his father. The younger Dutton is not surprised when the investigator informs Casey that Jamie was acting quite suspiciously. Casey discloses that Jamie might be involved in the killings of both his father and Sarah, and Dillard informs Casey that Jamie is presently within the blast radius. Casey responds he put himself there. Casey then dials Kay McPherson, who provides him with the residential address of Grant Horton. It's obvious that Casey has plans to deal with getting revenge for the death of his father. However, Casey quickly shows Beth a news piece about Sarah's death before those preparations can be implemented. The police are circling Jamie, he says. This is all going to come to a head real quick. Beth responds, he will ruin this family's name to save his own, requesting that Casey leave Jamie in her care. Get ready for more sorrow if you felt that the Duttons had already experienced enough this season. Things become a little shady in Montana when Carter checks on one of the horses in the barn while Rip and Lloyd are ranching on the Yellowstone, and the ranch hands down in Texas continue to round up their animals for sale. Carter tries to assist as the wild animal knocks down its water bowl, but the animal quickly corners him. They devise a strategy to get Carter out of there once Colby locates him. While Carter rushes out, Colby will enter and divert the horse's attention. Carter manages to escape, but the horse tramples Colby underfoot. Colby is trampled and things quickly turn violent, requiring Carter to shoot the horse dead. However, because Colby was killed, it's too little too late. Carter is devastated by the time Rip and Lloyd locate him, standing over Colby's lifeless body and blaming himself. It's not your fault, Rip informs him. If it's anyone's fault, it's mine. Rip phones Ryan right away and wants him to tell Teeter about Colby's passing rather than hiding it from the rest of his group. It doesn't go well when Ryan, Colby's best buddy, breaks the news to her. Amidst the thunderous Yellowstone music, Teeter lets out a cry. "Nothing's okay, Ethan." The Yellowstone foreman responds when Ethan asks Rip if everything is all right. "No more." Carter is left to grieve while Rip, Lloyd, and Ethan load Colby's body onto the truck and drive away. Teeter, Ryan, and the others in Texas grieve in their own unique ways before mounting their horses and traveling to Montana. Ryan says it was quick to Teeter. He never saw it coming. Teeter responds rather differently, even if she and the rest of the crew find solace in the fact that Colby was spared harm. She asserts, he's a cowboy, suffering's the job. I just wish he would have suffered a little longer so I could say goodbye. After Colby passes away, Casey and Tate explore the Dutton family cemetery, which is also the location of Casey and Monica's second son's burial and where John will be laid to rest. This where you want to be buried? Tate asks his father, but Casey says he wants to be buried wherever Tate is and that it is up to him to decide. Casey says here is not our home in closing. Not anymore. Casey swiftly disagrees with Tate's statement that he doesn't want to bury his father anyplace. Well, I sure hope you do, son, because I couldn't survive the alternative. At that moment, Casey receives a call authorizing him to proceed with his clandestine mission. This week after Colby's death, Counting Coop gives us a glimpse of Beth Dutton's more vulnerable side. In response to Lloyd's request, she packs everything Colby owns save his hat as she enters the bunkhouse in the hopes of gathering some of his belongings for his bereaved mother. Teeter, according to the elderly cowboy, will need something to cling to. Afterward, Beth goes to see Carter, and the boy is struggling to come to terms with his part in Colby's death. As she mothers him, she explains that he has no reason to blame himself. Colby made a choice. He saw you in trouble, and he chose to help you, Beth notes. And I'm sure glad he did. Beth tells her surrogate child that you shouldn't wrestle with this without his family. I don't got a family, he tells her. Sure you do, she replies. As Beth continues to make her rounds around the ranch, she finds her husband in the main house. Beth, who has been through enough tragedy herself to know, lights a fire and tells Rip that he needs to throw something. I'm not going to watch you bottle this up all night, she tells him, noting that she knows he's blaming himself. Throwing a glass into the fire generates an eruption that proves satisfactory, though it doesn't make Rip's pain go away. You know, when I find myself in the position of therapist, this family's pretty messed up, Beth tells him before asking what it is he needs to get through this. All I ever need is time and you, Beth, he admits. It's a dangerous job and one day it'll kill me too. Hopefully that isn't foreshadowing Rip's fate in the finale. That night, Casey prepares for whatever operation that he and Cade have put together, though Monica wishes that he wouldn't go. What I'm doing isn't best for the ranch, Casey tells her. It's for you, it's for us. Though he refuses to tell her what exactly he's up to, he does explain that his actions here are associated with the vision he once had that marked the end of his family. I can see it now. I know what to do. Believe in me, Casey says. I've always believed in you, Casey. Monica responds, forcing him to promise to come back to them. You got my word, he replies. The next morning, Monica makes breakfast for the family once again, but when Beth arrives and asks about Casey, he's nowhere to be found. We cut down to Texas, where Grant Horton is coaching his daughter's soccer game. Unlike the man we met in Desire Is All You Need, Grant appears to be a normal father and a family man. But Casey knows better. When Grant and his daughter get in the car, Casey hops in and points a gun at the girl, forcing Grant to drive. Do you know who I am? Casey asks. Grant tries to deny it, but Casey makes it clear that he knows that Grant is in part responsible for his father's death. He tells him that he should kill him in front of his family for what he did to John, but that he won't. Casey makes it clear that he can touch Grant wherever he wants to, but chooses to let him and his family go for now. Casey tells Grant that he ought to watch his back and exits the vehicle. When Mo picks Casey up, they call the Duttons' actions a counting coup, believing that the assassin got the message.